and they're a private company. And so they don't have to go by governmental rules. And that's why they're, just like you see the Hollywood stars, you know? Yeah. Light bulbs. Hi everyone, Squirrel Bait here, and welcome to Going Sideways, where I discuss current events that affect our preparedness and our freedoms, or are just interesting. This is one of those, not sure what category it falls into. This is from Technocracy News, and I have another document actually here, a report from openthegovernment.org. This references this. This one from openthegovernment.org is 51 pages. Don't worry. I'm putting a link down below. Read it for yourself. So let's start with this. It says, vicious cycle. Pentagon buys services from tech giants it created. Now, I know a lot of you know about this, so this is nothing new. On Wiku, this is regularly actually talked about and discussed, the fact that the government actually has a lot to do with the creation of these tech giants. But let's take a look here. A few interesting things. The U.S. Department of Defense's bloated budget, along with CIA venture capital, helped create tech giants including Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google, and PayPal. The government then contracts those companies to help its military and intelligence operations. In doing so, it makes the tech giants even bigger. So this is actually about the government being a customer of these tech giants after they start them up, right? Now, it does bring up some interesting points that myself and others have already made. It says here that the companies that many of us take for granted, including Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, and PayPal, are connected indirectly and sometimes very directly to the U.S. military intelligence complex. Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. And it talks here about this report from Open the Government. A bipartisan advocacy of transparency reveals the extent of Amazon's contracts with the Pentagon. So this report talks about how all of these tech companies have government contracts, and you wonder why, all the surveillance. Yeah, as they go in front of Congress and say, oh no, we're not doing that. Well, you know. Yeah, now those of us already know this, but for some of you who are still doubting it, links are down below. Check it out. Much of the U.S. government now runs on Amazon, on their cloud. Yep. Services provided by Amazon include cloud contracts, machine learning, and biometric data systems. Yeah. The report reveals that it can, but much is protected from public scrutiny under the twin veils of national security and corporate secrecy. Now, me and some friends have talked about this repeatedly. If you're a company, you're a private corporation, or shall we say, private corporation, you do not qualify under the Freedom of Information Act. You can have non-disclosure agreements. You can be as quiet as a mouse. There is no requirement for transparency like there is for the U.S. government. So, and let's see if I can find that real quick here. Aha, see now, watch now. The CIA, Directorate of Intelligence and National Security Agency, okay, under the auspices of the National Science Foundation, National Science Foundation, funded the Massive Data Digital Systems Program, okay, who funds tech. So basically, and we've talked about this, me and my friends, all the time. A, the government puts money into B, which funds C, which funds D, who then spins around and gives it to E, and then says, no, it didn't come from the government, it came from this foundation. It's this foundation that's funding these, not the government. You see how this works? Yeah. And they're a private company. And so they don't have to go by governmental rules. And that's why they're, just like you see the Hollywood stars, you know? Yeah. Light bulbs. That's why I'm doing this report, is to just keep bringing it out, because I know it's hard for people to see. It's hard for people to realize and accept. Trust the government, trust the government, trust the government. And they're being extremely deceptive when it comes to the technology. Extremely deceptive. So we're going to just keep, every time I come across something like this, I'm just going to keep putting it out there. Okay. So on this report, I think there's just a few, there's just 2 things I wanted to mention to you out of it. The rest of it, read it for yourself. It's things that we've already talked about ad nauseum. Private companies do not have the same transparency requirements as government agencies. That's true. Non-disclosure agreements between the government and its contractors severely limits access to information about the work being done. So there's non-disclosure agreements between the government and these tech companies, but then there's also non-disclosure agreements between these tech companies and police department and other companies and other avenues in which they do business. These private corporations have non-disclosure agreements that they make people sign. For example, Amazon looking for a place in the cities to put up more headquarters, right? To put up additional headquarters. There was a non-disclosure agreement that Amazon had with them, so they couldn't talk about it. Something that simple. They do it for everything. Why? Because they know they have a lot to hide. Bezos. I did not know this. It says here, and I had to follow up, make sure. But it says here, Bezos purchased the region's largest newspaper, which is in Northern Virginia. It says here, in a Northern Virginia suburb of Washington, D.C. Bezos has purchased the region's largest newspaper, the Washington Post. So Amazon's Bezos purchased the Washington Post. Huh. Imagine that. Interesting read. Check it out. Link is down below. And as always, question everything.